Hey Fight fans, I'm Michelle Joy Phelps and I'm currently in Las Vegas for the highly anticipated rematch between Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury, taking place February 22nd from the MGM Garden Arena, airing exclusively on both ESPN pay-per-view and Fox pay-per-view in the US and BT Sports box office in the UK. Now I'm joined now with a few of my colleagues, starting with Marcos Villegas, the founder of Fight Hub TV and Fox's unofficial scorer, Kugan Cassius, the founder of IFL TV, and Andrew McCart, who is a correspondent of IFL TV, and Stephen Cureno, the founder of KO Artist Sports and also a contributor for Behind the Gloves. How excited, nervous, what are you guys feeling for this fight? I know that I haven't been this excited for a boxing matchup in a long time.
I'm excited for the buffet on Saturday.
Oh my gosh, shut up, Vegas.
You're excited for it. I know you like
You're excited for it.
That's what I'm excited
Really?
for. I want that
Really?
top-notch pay-per-view buffet.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you
the
know?
steak.
Yeah,
the steaks,
that's
you
what
know.
I'm excited.
The
Chicken
cordon
pasta.
bleu.
Yeah, please. I want
Not just hot dogs.
some good food. That's what I
Patties.
want. No. Yeah, it's.
Excited?
I'm not so like. I don't think excited is the right word. I think I'm just like I don't know. I keep going back and forth. I think it's not worried or like nervousness or anything. A lot of anticipation. That's would be the right word to describe it. It's anticipating it because I've been going back and forth as to who I think is going to win. When I think maybe Wilder has the edge, and then I read something or I start thinking like, hey, this, and this, and then I flip and like, oh, okay, I think Tyson should end up winning this fight, and then, it goes the other way around. So I think,
So you're like everyone right now. You're not really quite sure. You're like 50-50.
Yeah. And this is the first time that I think we've seen a fight where a lot of people are back and forth in a really long time. And I think that's really good for the casual fans to gravitate towards this, because that's what you want. You want fights that are competitive, that you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't want a fight to whitewashing another guy, because then those fights kind of drag down the product. So I think on that end, Kugan's playing touchy-feely with me right now. But
Cougs, what do you think? I mean, you obviously have a good relationship with Tyson. Are you nervous for him at all? Not nervous in a negative way, but nervous because it is a big fight.
Probably what Marcos said, really. It's like more anticipation. I think in like this heavyweight era where we're wanting so many fights, we have to remember that this is the rematch. We've had 2 of these fights in the space of 14 months, when there's so many other fights that we keep talking about that we don't even know are going to happen. So we need to be kind of grateful that we're getting this rematch now within 14 months of the first one. So, yeah, I don't think anyone knows what the fuck. Oh, can you swear on here?
yeah, you curse all the time.
I know, but that's on my own channel. Yeah. That's on a proper channel. Anyway.
Yes, sir.
I'm only joking.
That didn't take long.
I know, right?
We're going to edit like a clown face.
How many subs you got, Michelle? Anyway. Anyway, we're talking.
Almost 200,000, thank
There you go.
He's leading the way with the subs anyway.
I didn't even bring that up, man.
I know.
It's like YouTube beef. That's all the personal issues are
I didn't
coming
even
out.
care. Like, damn, Coogan with all the
Fuck Fight Hub, man!
Wow, when did this? Fuck you guys.
Oh, sit down. Come on.
No, I don't think anyone knows what the fuck's going to happen on Saturday.
But what are you guys feeling? Like, honest, like, what is your your gut tell you?
What I like the most about it, just speaking of what you guys were talking about the anticipation, is that because it's ESPN, because it's Fox, like I watched Fox on Saturday night, the Caleb Plant fight.
Did you
and
watch
it was
me?
nonstop. I did, and I skipped over those parts.
Oh,
actually.
damn, those are the best parts.
I fell asleep because it was putting me to sleep.
Best
Sorry.
parts.
But no, like Fox is a huge television station here in the U.S., and that was constant promotion for Wilder Fury on that. And then I always watch ESPN when I'm doing other stuff, just kind of background noise. And it was right there on the bottom, like it was constant promotion about that too on SportsCenter, like, and being that I'm the boxing guy among my friends, which I'm sure a lot of us kind of are, the fact that people are asking me, hey, what do you think, or when's that fight? That fight's on Saturday. It just speaks to how big the fight really is, and just like all of us, I think we're just highly anticipating it, and it's getting to more eyes and ears, I think, this time around, which is great. Sure.
Well, like Andrew, how do you feel about Tyson saying that he wants to go for the second round knockout?
I don't believe him.
He doesn't believe him.
I don't believe him. You translate for me.
Yeah, I'm translating.
I'll
I never understand you, mate.
I've got the.
But you can't understand him. What do you think? How we're gonna
I'm going to
understand
translate
him?
for
I'm
you.
going to do an English accent,
Go
right?
on.
Wait, what part of England?
No.
Oh.
Scottish.
It's a fight. It's a fight.
Well, you said English accent.
Scottish.
No,
Scottish. I'm
Yeah,
Scottish.
He's Scottish.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
going to do it.
I couldn't
He's
figure
going to
that
do this in
out.
an English accent. He's been
I was going to do an English
Oh.
accent so you will understand me.
Go on.
I can understand him,
Oh,
man. What are you talking
Mike.
about?
So what are you feeling about the second round knockout?
I don't believe Tyson. That's the
That's his
American
English
accent.
accent.
I don't believe him. I don't believe him. He says a lot of things, Tyson, that you take with a pinch of salt. I think he can. For Tyson's best opportunity to win this fight is going to be the points decision. Although his camp yesterday, when we were at the Top Rank offices doing the interviews, the UK media with Andy Lee, Sugar Hill, they were very confident in terms of what they were doing in that camp, like setting on his shots. In the first fight, they were saying that when he did push Wilder back against the ropes, he sort of stepped back. He didn't actually jump on Wilder when he could have maybe done his second phase, like 1-2, go the body upstairs, downstairs. He didn't do any of that. He took a step back and let Wilder come off the ropes. I think now this camp, what I'm hearing from them, they think that if he does push Wilder back, or manage to push him back against the ropes of the 1-2, maybe get the second phase in 3s and 4s and whatnot. So
See, it doesn't sound crazy. Like the
No, it
plan
doesn't
doesn't sound crazy
sound
because
crazy.
that's what you want to do.
Uh-huh.
Because Wilder's a guy that comes forward. He's the one that's pressing the action forward. And usually, when you flip the script on a guy who comes forward, they're not used to moving backwards, and you nullify completely their offense.
they both know each other now. They know, even though they've shared 12 rounds with each other, they know they might see these little things that they do, these little tweaks that they do in their fight. Do you know what I mean? Like Ben Davison done a thing on BT, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago, when he broke it down, little nuances that they do each fighter and stuff like that. And it was perfectly, Ben done a great job, and it's like they know each other now, so they might know these little, I don't know if when Wilder jumps forward, they know the right hand's coming, so Tyson can take a step back this time and whatnot. So I think it's going to be a much better fight than the first fight, but I don't see the second round knockers for Tyson. I don't see that.
I think that's the question mark as well, because it's a change in training as well. Have Sugar Hill and Tyson had enough time to kind of? He said they have, but again, it's kind of what was working with Ben Davison.
See, but I don't think that's as much of a big deal as people have made it out to seem, because Tyson's already familiar with Sugar Hill. He's already spent more time with him.
7-8 years ago.
Yeah, but still, that's more time together that he had with him than with Ben.
But do you know what? It's probably not as much Sugar Hill. It's probably the kind of the Ben Davison situation as well, that he was a big factor in Tyson even coming back in the first place.
Yeah.
Had worked with him on his last 5 fights, because we think Tyson's been out the ring for so long, but he's had 5 fights in the space of a couple of years now. So
Well, I find it interesting because I remember a few years back when Tyson had said to me, he always relied on Ben. Like, Ben likes to spend a bit of time alone, and when he would want to spend time alone, Tyson really wanted him always around. So it's kind of interesting to see. I know that he's shown that he's good and comfortable with where he is in his camp, but at the same time, when you make a dramatic change like that, when you go from sort of relying on someone being there all the time to not being there, it's gonna be interesting to see how it all sort of plays out.
I think with Tyson's personality, like, he makes you feel like you've known him for a long time, because he just absorbs like the way he is. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you've never met Tyson before, he'll greet you and he'll talk to you, and it feels like you've known him for a little while. Like that's what he did with me when I first met him in Belfast 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Had never met him before. I found out I was working for IFL TV, and he was like my best friend. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's
perks of the job, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Cheers, boss.
Has any of you guys heard anything about Deontay's camp? Because I haven't heard very much
Ask the
about
American
it.
guys.
No.
What have you guys been able to observe?
We had a guy in his camp
What, a spy?
2 weeks ago. No, spy, just to go see him.
Say, we had a guy in his camp.
We had a guy that went,
Spy.
that got invited to go see him in Alabama, but he told me that they were pretty strict with what they could film, it was limited time. Like he got to see the sparring, but he said like it was a typical sparring session that he was just using the jab more, and that he seemed more methodical in there with his sparring partners, which makes sense because you see the last fight that he had, with Ortiz, he seemed a lot more comfortable. He wasn't getting anxious or over anxious that he was losing round after round after round, because he knew like, hey, I got this figured out. It's all right, because at the end of the day, he knew that his power was going to bail him out. The weird thing that always makes me think about this matchup, especially because it's at an elite level, is that when you get to this level, the more complete guy should be able to take away that one weapon that other person has. So like when it's elite versus elite, they're always very complete. They don't rely on one thing. They can do everything well. And Deontay does this one thing so damn great that it doesn't matter. Like these guys that are very complete fighters can't take away that one great thing. Like Fury should be able to nullify his power completely because he's a very complete guy. He's a boxer. He's the better boxer. He's the better boxer. But his power is so great that he can't take that away, and it's just a trip because when you see elite level matchups, you always see that dynamic. The one thing that person has against the other far superior boxer, and the far superior boxer always ends up winning because they're able to nullify that one weapon that makes that person stick out.
What I'll say on that is Tyson was training to lose weight for the 2 fights that he had before Wilder, maybe a little bit into the Wilder camp. He was training to lose weight, he wasn't training to fight. Now the last 2 fights against Schwartz and Wallen, he was training to fight, and obviously now with this camp against Wilder, he's training to obviously more tactical rather than trying to lose the weight. So I think the right time for Wilder to get to Tyson was that first fight. Now, I kind of feel maybe I'm edging a little. Maybe shouldn't say it, but this is probably Tyson's right time to get Wilder. If that makes sense.
It could be.
The first time was right.
He
for
looks
Wilder
a lot healthier
because,
now.
But it's interesting because Deontay, every time he has a rematch, he's always come back even better.
That's
if
very
you
true.
notice.
Yeah.
Because his learning curve is like this right now. He keeps going up because of the lack of amateur experience, and he's learning fight by fight right now. Yeah. So his learning curve is this right now. And Tyson, it's either Tyson's at his peak right now, or he's plateauing, or he's right at the tip of going down. Because usually that's a fighter's. You see like their bell curve. How it is. It's either they're on the way up, they've plateaued, or they're just on the way down.
But I mean, you said about him kind of being better in the rematches with what Stavern went 12 rounds, 1 round blowout, and then Ortiz was losing the majority of the fight, and then his get out of jail free card, which expression we use, he's got that in his locker. So I don't really think you can take too much of that going into the Fury fight, because the events that happened over the course of that 12 rounds, for example, if he gets clipped again, we don't know that he gets up. Yeah. More than likely, you'd probably say that he won't get up, because no one still knows how the fuck he got up from that.
Yeah.
We're still talking about it now, but it's a valid point that we can't answer. He probably doesn't even know how he got up. So if he gets clipped again, does he get up? If he gets clipped in the early rounds, what happens then? Right.
And then you're not even bringing up another big factor in the cut. The cut that he had. You don't think Wilder's gonna be targeting that right away?
For it straight away, and I don't blame him.
So that's another factor that, now that
Which
makes me
still
think.
looks fresh.
Now that makes me think maybe Wilder might have the edge in this fight just for that, because they say he opens it up in the first 3 rounds, and they have to stop the fight.
The problem is when you look at if the fight goes to 8, 9, 10, usually you could look at that. Like when Fury fought Klitschko, as the rounds were getting to 8, 9, 10, you was thinking, Fury's got this. Stay away from Klitschko's right hand and you've got this. But this is different with this, because he could be winning 11 out of 12 rounds, going into the 12th round, and it can still happen at any point in the fight. And Fury knows that more than anyone. So
he can't be comfortable, and he can't be lackadaisical.
Can he stay switched on for 36 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. Can he stay focused the whole time?
He will definitely get dropped in that fight. Will he not?
With this fight?
Fury. I'd say there's a good chance Fury will get dropped by Wilder in the fight.
Well, I mean, if we're going off of stats,
well, he's knocked down every person,
every single opponent.
So you say at some point in the fight, but I think it's critical to see at what point in the fight he if Wilder lands. But I don't know. There's so many situations.
Punch resistance is key to your fitness levels as well. Like going back to the first fight, was Fury at his fittest. Was he? He looks super fit now.
Yeah, he does.
Unbelievably fit. Been out here for what, the 1st of January he came out for this camp?
Yeah.
Been out for 2 months in Vegas. Acclimatised the hot weather, the good weather. His fitness levels are through the roof, way better than what it was the first fight. So his punch resistance, you know yourself with boxers, the fitter they are, the better the punch resistance. So I think he can still get dropped, but I think it won't be as telling as it'll be a glancing blow rather than
I think as well, I know Fury's going on like he's going to knock Wilder out in 2 rounds, and none of us are sitting here thinking that that's actually the plan that they're going for.
I mean, think about it, Kooks. He's the wind-up king. So he likes to say things. We all know he doesn't masturbate 7 times a day.
You don't know that?
Yeah, he
For
does.
Christ's
I
sake.
don't know
For
that.
Christ's sake.
What do
Come
you
on.
We all-
Come
talking
on,
about?
people.
I do.
Are you a man?
Oh my God.
That's totally possible.
normal for us
Anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Look at that. You believe
I'm
like
on 6
My
right now.
point-
I'm gonna myself.
Wrap it up.
he's about to get a 7th
Trying to
inch.
get
Steve's
number
already done 12.
You keep cooking occupied, I'm way upstairs.
Oh.
Anyway,
No, but the reality is that I think Tyson, just like I don't know if you guys saw when apparently Deontay Wilder had said that every time Tyson came into clinch, he would whisper Dusser into his ear. So it's like a bunch of mind games, isn't it? Like Dusser. Like oh fuck you. Like you just wanted,
You know, see, his
maybe
shit
that's
today,
why he
his shit
wanted to
today
just
said
knock him
Dusser,
out
you know?
so bad. You know what I mean? That's a tactic.
Do you
of his.
feel also that like Tyson's talking all this knockout talk, 2nd round, all this stuff because he really believes that he can't get a decision here? Because he really did feel he got it the first time.
Of course, he feels that way. He really does feel that way.
Yeah, he
Who
does.
doesn't feel that way when they've been on the other side of the spectrum, when they've seen something like that happen to them? Right. He knows going into this, Deontay's American.
Nah, see,
No,
I don't believe that.
I do think
like,
that
I've spoken.
judges do
I think
tend
he
to sway
actually
towards
believes.
the-
I
I
think
don't
he
think
did.
so.
Like,
Let me
it's
tell
not
you
just
why.
talk. I
Why?
think he actually believes.
I've actually
I
spoken
probably
to
got
a
to
lot
knock out this
of
dude.
a lot of judges, with the role that I'm in now, and when I went to the seminar that I did in Mexico for the WBC and stuff like that, and a majority of the judges want to do the right thing. Like I was talking to him.
But
thinking.
do you think they're honestly going to tell you otherwise?
No.
Yeah.
I was
oh,
coming
major
into
reporter,
it
dude.
I was coming into it thinking that they were all
No, I
gonna
have
be
a bias.
incompetent, that they weren't gonna know what they were doing, and
I'm assuming Adelaide Bird wasn't there when you're having this conversation.
But I had a talk with a lot of judges, and they genuinely want to get the right person, and they genuinely want to give the decision to the person who deserves it, because they know what's at stake. They totally know that they can be the ones that could change someone's life based on their competence of their job. And what I saw from the judges they had there, that they were pulling with the WBC, that a majority of them want to get the right person, and it was nothing of like, oh, well, I'm going to go for the American and stuff like that. No, they come in and they look at it as neutral ground. They don't care who's who,
But then that's
and
the
they're
hu-
looking at
that's
round
the-
by round by round.
But
by round.
that's I think the judges
Even
I'm
as
sure
humans,
feel
we
that
do-
way. I think
Yeah.
Tyson really feels I'm in
No,
America. There's
he
no
might,
way
yeah,
they're
he
going to
might
fucking
feel
give me a
that,
decision.
but I think like in general that's like a misnomer
cop-out or
for-
something.
No, it's just like one of those things like how fans say like boxing's fixed. That's another one of those
Oh,
things.
right,
Oh, the judges are paid off and stuff like that.
No, of course not. Yeah, I think none of us up here believe that.
Yeah.
But I think he truly feels. I just think he
Otherwise-
truly feels that if I don't get a knockout or I don't knock him down a couple times,
Now-
there's no way I'm going to get it.
With him saying what he's going to do, I believe him that he's going to come forward.
Yeah, I believe it too.
Because it's the same
Yeah.
thing with Canelo when he said to Golovkin, I'm going to fight you coming forward. And he said it the whole build up to that.
he did it.
And none of us believed him. None of us.
I believe.
No way.
I think he's going to come forward. He
So
was
do
doing that
I.
1-2,
I
the
do think
backhand
so,
he
yeah.
stepped off. I think he's going to hit the back
Yeah.
that 1-2.
Now, if it's going to be the right thing to
to
do, who knows? You know,
Right.
but yeah.
And a subtle thing about Deontay's defense that when he gets hurt, because he has gotten hurt, he crowds the person. He comes forward. He doesn't really go back like
Yeah.
and fight anybody.
Well,
that's the other
Normally
thing
kind
is
of
if
back
you
up,
have a
but he
guy has
kinda
longer arms,
wraps his arms
that
around people,
his
and
big strength is to fight you in the mid distance, so he can get the most snap on his punches. So what do you do against a guy that does that? You crowd him. You crowd him so he can't get the most leverage from his punches.
Yeah.
You crowd him so he's throwing punches like this so you can work on the inside.
Right.
You rough him up. When's Wilder ever been roughed up in a fight? Ever. Never. No
The
one's
only
ever
time-
fought him
no,
chest to chest
the
close
only
up.
time I've ever seen Wilder in a slight predicament was when he fought Ortiz, and I believe it was the 8th or the 9th round. I can't recall
Oh, the
what
first
round.
fight.
The
first fight.
Where
He
for a
was.
moment
He was
there,
tied
I
up.
was at the edge of my seat thinking, "Oh shit, what's about to happen?"
Yeah.
So that's the only time I could say of any of the fights I've ever watched with Wilder.
That's when you really
know.
noticed Wilder. Once he got caught, he was really kind of wrapping his arms
Yeah.
around
Right.
Ortiz, like, let me get on him, because he closed the distance right in that moment.
That's true.
Yeah. So, final words. Do you guys have a prediction? Steven, we'll start with you.
It's tough.
Who are you
draw.
favoring?
I kind of the same as Marco said. I go back and forth. Like on the way over here, I was feeling like Fury can, probably outbox him. But then hearing the stuff from his trainer, and I really believe he is coming forward. And that's probably not the best. I mean, who knows? I really don't know. It really is like a 50-50 fight. It really is like that close. I really don't know.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's
Yeah.
hard.
Well, I want to interview both of them tomorrow, so I'll just say a draw.
They won't like you. They won't like
Smart
that
man,
either.
smart man.
You?
Kugan?
Huh?
Huh?
I genuinely don't know. I wouldn't put my house on either of them. I genuinely don't know. I don't even know how this fight's going to start. I know we're all saying what we're saying, but we don't know for definite how this fight's going to pan out, how it's going to start, how it's going to end. So I'm going to cop out and say I don't know.
I don't know either.
Do you know what?
I'm the only one that gave up
Do you
a
know what's-
We're all
No,
bunch of cowards.
I'm giving
Do you know
predictions.
what-
I usually will give
Do you know
predictions,
what's so-
but I with this one I don't know because
What's
there's a
so
lot of
amazing
factors.
about this
You know,
fight
it's
is we're
hard.
actually getting a real competitive matchup.
Oh, we get those all the time.
No, yeah, exactly. I'm like, no, we don't. And that's
We
the
do in
beautiful
England.
thing about it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Kell Brook
What?
when he fights.
What's that?
Yeah,
Why are you owing when you're...
No, I was owing what he said.
I spend more time in fucking England.
I'm owing what he said, you
Kell Brook.
dosser.
He doesn't fight very competitive fights.
Well, he did against Sean Porter.
How many years ago was that?
Doesn't matter.
That's the,
Look at the statistics.
what about him?
Just look at them. 2014.
What is statistics for what?
You can't just say that and then not throw out what you're talking about.
I'm just saying.
Look at the books.
All right, we're not talking about
Look at the
numbers.
statistics.
We're not
Uneducated
talking about
fools.
numbers.
Yeah.
We're talking about.
Well, he was talking about competitive fights,
Right.
and I just brought up a thing. It's
No,
true.
I know,
Okay,
but-
He's been criticized that he hasn't fought competitive fights.
Errol
Wait, so
Spence
Kell
Golovkin.
Brook?
What about?
What's up with
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
No, that's
He
been
fought Spence, he
that's
fought
been
Triple G.
Yeah, but that's been a huge criticism of his,
Porter.
that he hasn't fought very competitive fights. He'll fight a good person, and then like the next 3 fights will be
But
like.
then he fought his mandatory when he became IBF. It was
know?
what Jojo Dan, and then
Why are you
Exactly.
hating on Kell Brook?
I'm not hating. You brought up competitive.
You know,
fights.
Kel's here this
You
week.
did bring up Kell
Oh,
Brook,
yeah,
though.
yeah.
And I just that's the first thing that came to
Serious,
mind.
Kell Brook
This
is
is
here
what
this
the
week.
American fans think.
I'm just going to say,
Well,
in the mood,
Kell
I'm wearing an
Brook will be
IFL
here this
tracksuit
week.
behind
It'd
the
be nice
gloves.
to see you interview
No,
him.
it's fine.
No, it's great.
Shoot.
All right, well, guys.
I'm not. I'm saying this is
Before I interview
legitimate-
Kell Brook,
this
I'm
is
going to
a
show him that clip.
legitimate thing.
So that's
Get
him
the
right there.
That
Get the
fans say.
reaction from
It's a
this.
legitimate thing that fans say here in the U.S.
What about
You
Kell
know,
Brook?
and it's not just him. There's a bunch of people.
You
Leo
can't say
Santa
that-
Cruz,
Yeah,
they
all right.
criticize him all the time. Gary Russell, they criticize him all the time for not fighting.
When you say they, do you mean you?
No, I say they as in boxing fans.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
no, I hear
So
that.
yes.
I hear that.
I hear that. But also, Kell Brook's resume is...
He's not shying away from anyone, if that's the case. It's just the
You
fights.
can't knock Kell Brook's resume as a whole, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
But someone who's been in with Porter, Spence and Golovkin, you can't
Yeah.
really...
And Jojo Dan.
Can't forget that one. It's top of the list right there.
But at the end of the day, yeah, it's a 50-50 fight. I don't.
That's the beauty in this.
really
It's a
is.
50-50 fight.
Like honestly, like with these matchups, I usually, in rematches, the favorite is on a historic perspective. The guy who wins the fight is usually the better boxer. The better boxer always does well in rematches.
So you're saying Fury? You're
It
edging?
should, by historical perspective, the boxer does well in rematches.
Marcus
But-
picking Fury, you're
But
Fury.
no, but I'm saying, but with this one, Wilder already knocked him down twice, and then the last time he knocked him down,
I don't
like,
think he's
you
gonna. I
know,
don't think he's gonna knock him down this time.
so. It's like who knows?
Someone made a
We'll
good
see.
point. I think it was Tim Bradley on Max Kellerman's show said something about after Wilder cracked him, you know, we had those 2 fights like to see what he looked like. And Otto Walden, that was a tough fight. He got hurt in the 12th round. Obviously, he got cut. Like, and Tim said something about, you know, when someone gets cracked like that with power, like sometimes they're not the same. And we've seen it dramatically, like with Cotto, like he wasn't, you know, the same after Margarito. You know, like we've seen plenty of examples of that. So maybe it's not like a crazy deterioration like that is, but Tim might have a point that took something out of him. You know what I mean? And now you're fighting that guy again.
That's always a possibility,
you know?
when someone, I mean, we've always seen in most cases after someone has been brutally knocked out, you know, they aren't quite the same fighters after that. But he wasn't brutally knocked out.
Right.
He still got up. It was like some gypsy magic that was going on, because how he did it, it's again, we all still are asking that question.
Undertaker.
He even asked that question. I don't know what happened. I just woke up. I was on the canvas. I had to get up.
I'm not supposed to be here.
You know, but one thing we can say is that both of them are warriors. We know we're going to get an absolute war out of this. There's no question about it. I don't think it's going to be a boring fight. Oftentimes we see people playing it safe in rematches, and I don't think that's going to be the case. I think both of them have something to prove, because obviously coming out of this, not only do you get the title, but you get the possibility, if not the immediate trilogy, there's a possibility of the Anthony Joshua fight, which we all know.
Well, they have a thing signed for a 3rd fight.
Right, but
So-
is it immediate, or is it just
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, so
It's in the
you never
contract.
know. You
Yeah.
never
And I
know.
also think because of what happened with Joshua last year with Andy, and yeah, he redeemed himself. But I also feel that this fight is like, who's the baddest man on the planet in the heavyweight?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of deciding you're the man now. You know what I mean? Like, and if you get a clear-cut victory over him, not a lot of people can argue it. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I mean, you're talking about arguably, I mean, if we're going off of his record, I mean, Deontay Wilder is probably the hardest hitting of the division. I mean, can we
Of all
argue
time?
with that?
Nope.
No.
Of all
And-
time?
No,
No,
not all
in
time, but
division
right
now,
now.
right
in
now.
the division,
Oh, right now,
yeah.
right now,
And then
yeah.
Tyson Fury is the superior boxer of, I would imagine, the rest of the heavyweights as well. So
Unless you put
look
Usyk
at that.
in there.
Well, but we still have yet to
Yeah,
really see
to
Usyk
really
tested
see it
at
tested at
heavyweight. So,
heavyweight,
but nonetheless,
But just
we're
going
looking
by,
at
like,
2 of the
credentials and
best.
stuff like
Yeah,
that, yeah.
2 of the best. You know,
Well,
giving us.
you're seeing what consensus says is number 1 and number 2.
Yeah.
Going up against each other.
Right, exactly.
Because of what happened with Joshua getting knocked out.
Because that
you
he
know,
clearly
which
Right.
became
I
the
still
number 3
think
person.
right there you have 1A, 1B, 1C.
Right.
At any given night,
Yeah.
either or could probably be either or if
Yeah.
someone
That's
has
what
a
we
bad
should
night.
Yeah.
But just because one guy has that little bit of tarnish
Yeah.
now, it really,
Which
I mean, they're both undefeated.
which is
these
really
guys.
bad, because on paper, when you look at it, Joshua is the number 1 heavyweight in the world because he has all the
'Cause
belts.
he has
Muhammad
the
Ali
belt,
and Joe
of course.
Frazier had blemishes on their record.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
And
And that's
again,
something
it's
our
not
sport
really
needs to get
down to
better
the
about.
blemishes. I mean,
I was gonna say, our
hate-
sport
I
needs to get better
I feel
about
like
that.
it was during the Floyd Mayweather era that people started to really obsess over, you know, the O. That has nothing to do with styles make fights. We all know that.
Right.
One person can fight another person who would fight another person, and that person beat that person who beat this person. You get what I'm saying? It gets complicated and complex because of it comes down to the styles at the end of the day, and also what sort of impact. I mean, what they've encountered over their career, like again back down to knockouts, and there's a fear factor in all of that. So we'll just see. I know we're going to wrap this up, but I appreciate you guys sitting down talking about this. That we've never done this before, but it's really kind of cool to see that as media, we're just as conflicted as people
Yeah.
who are watching at home.
We're special.
Yeah. So for people who don't really know what's going to happen, that's what makes this fight so exciting. You guys don't want to miss it. February the 22nd. We got
Thank you
Deontay
for watching.
Wilder.
Subscribe to IFL TV.
You little jerk.
Subscribe to Fight Hub also.
KO Artist
He's
Sports.
the one. KO.
I'm with him.
Calm down.
And behind the
calm
gloves,
down.
you know.
February the 22nd, Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury, the rematch. You guys, it's going to be shown on ESPN pay-per-view as well as Fox pay-per-view, BT Sport box office in the UK. We'll speak with you guys later. Bye, Fight fans.
We didn't even get to talk about aliens.
Hey, Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and do so by clicking the icon right here, and also hit the bell button so that you can get alerts every time we upload a new video.